Hello and welcome to the Blightcast, the Ronimo Games official Blightbound podcast. Today we are speaking with Robin Meijer, the producer at Ronimo Games. Hello everybody, welcome, and I'd like to welcome Robin to the Blightcast. Hello Robin.
Hello, Phil. Hello, Blightcast.
This is definitely our first
Thanks
time
for having
doing
me.
doing this section of the interview. Um, so Robin, for those people who don't
Super
know who
smooth.
you are and what you do at Ronimo, who are you and what do you do at Ronimo?
So I'm Robin. I'm producer here at Ronimo Games, and that means I sort of deal with everything that comes into play when you're making a video game as a team. If you ever emailed us for support on Astronauts or Storm Soldiers, I was probably the first to get your email. I've been working very closely with Devolver these last couple months to get everything ready for the release of Blightbound. And all sort of the details that just come into play as a team.
Right on. So, how exactly did you start working at Ronimo? Because it's been, and like, how long ago has it been since you started working at Ronimo? Because it's been a while, as far as I understand.
It's been a while. I actually started out as an intern in January 2011. So that's well over a year before the Ocelot TV came out for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
And after my internship, they kept me on, and that's now almost been just 9 years as a full time producer. And it's been a pretty wild ride coming from just pre-launch Astronauts to Astronauts, going to Steam, years and years of Astronauts, Storm Soldiers 2, and I now finally Blightbound.
Yeah, nearly a decade of astronauts would make most people kind of immediately go, "Wait, what?" In terms of like the amount of time that has passed. So,
it's
as
it has been great though, just working on a
mm-hmm.
game for that long, building up a community. Uh, it's it's really been an amazing ride.
Yeah, and it's probably allowed you to meet a fair few people that would have been very cool and that you wouldn't have met otherwise. It also kind of
Yeah, I
meant
mean,
that
you're
I was that's definitely a thing too.
that's
Um,
pretty good.
so, what exactly does like a producer do at a company though? Like you said that you kind of work the support angle of things, but you also do a whole bunch of other stuff when you're working as a producer for a game company. What exactly does that mean when you're producing at Ronimo? What were your duties?
Um, I think sort of to answer the more general question, what does a producer do? I think when you're working as a team and that team grows, at some point you're not as an individual you're no longer able to keep up with everything or talk to everyone about everything. um, and and there sort of occurs some friction between people, or just communication doesn't happen. And I think that's where a producer comes into play. It's just someone to help a company or a team deal with its own size. um,
Right.
Whether that's, in my case, that usually meant just trying to keep track of planning, making sure everyone is working sort of in the same direction, or prioritizing the issues that need prioritizing. Whether just trying to keep everyone on track towards our next objective as a team, because
Right.
it's really easy to sort of get stuck in the details of whatever you're working on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
um, and just trying to stay aligned as a team is not something that happens naturally, I guess.
So one,
And
yeah.
beyond that, it's I've also been doing a lot of uh, just external stuff. So for Blightbound, I went out to pitch to publishers and stuff like that, and I've been working with Volver quite a lot, just to get everything ready for release, and sorting out translations, everything like that. And the same with Astronauts. We had a really cool community translations team, for example. And every update, we used to have text that needs to get translated, and all of that sort of went through me.
Wow. So not only did you end up having to effectively make sure that the internal workings of the company were running, like if the company was a machine, you'd be the oil that kept it like running smoothly. Because without it, like the entire thing would probably grind to a halt if stuff wasn't communicating properly or working smoothly. Anyway, like you were the internal communications, and on top of that, it seems like you're the
Yeah.
external communications. And pitching to publishers and stuff almost ends up being like I'm not sure how often that ends up being the producer's job, but that definitely sounds like almost a marketing thing. And I know for a fact that you did a lot of the marketing help as well by going to a variety of different shows and stuff, and by meeting people and all that. It's how I ended up bumping into you that one time while we were I was still living in England, which was really cool. But
Hmm.
still, that's a lot. That's a lot of work. Um,
Yeah, I think it's sort of the role of the producer really depends on what's happening at any given time. Um, just the last few weeks, as we're preparing like closed beta builds for Blightbound, for example, I've been really focused on making sure the right bugs get fixed and stuff like that. But it's not always been that intense, just internally. Sometimes everything's just going smoothly, and then that's all good, allowing me to focus on other stuff. And as you said, um, pitching to publishers is something that I didn't do alone. I did this with Fabian quite a bit,
mhm.
just sharing that load. So also my role in Ronimo really evolved just depending on the stage our projects were in, and what we have going on internally.
And I imagine that with the recent developments involving COVID-19 and such, your job took on a far stronger role for that communication aspect of things as compared to potentially before, where people could actually speak to themselves in the office and such. So,
Yeah, it's been a weird time really. Just getting used to all working remotely with the 29 of us now. And you've joined us recently. You've also been working remotely, and it's not always easy to just keep track of what's going on. And I think as Ronimo, this is just a new challenge for us.
mm-hmm.
It's a new challenge for a lot of companies out there. And it definitely added just a new layer of stuff to deal with as a producer. Yeah, it's maybe more easy than ever to sort of misalign what you're doing when you're just working at home and focus on your own stuff. Uh, Back
Yeah,
in the office, we'd usually just hang out at a computer, look at an issue, and then discuss it. And that doesn't happen as naturally anymore.
no. And it can be really easy to kind of get stuck in your own work. But
Yeah.
but there's yeah, like you definitely helped a lot with that. And from the time that I've been here, very briefly, I can already see that. So that's that's
Thanks.
good to see. And it seems like we're kind of like that. Ronimo's doing a good job with that. So go us. Um, so like we already touched on this, but your work has definitely evolved from when you started. What would you say is the thing that's changed the most outside of very recent events as of March with all the social distancing and such? Because like that's the no duh answer. What would you say is the thing that's probably changed the most since you started at Ronimo as an intern and have now come to this point where you're a fully fledged integral producer?
I think um, over the time, just internally, the biggest change is that when I joined, there was about 12 of us. Um,
12?
and that was still, I think so, yeah,
That's
12,
it.
13.
Wow.
Um, and at that point, being a producer just means sort of to go with your analogy of being oil in the machine. It's just really fixing the squeaky wheel, um, and just keeping track of things. But you know, it's you can sit at a table, you can still sort of have a general conversation with 12 people. Um, but as we grow, and especially as we grew during Blightbound, we're now going on 30 people. Um, it is no longer possible to just sit down and actually have a conversation, or to get 30 different viewpoints of something. And that has really stretched just a lot of the processes that we've had over all these years. And in a way, just being able to sit down and have a conversation with everything and with everyone has been an important part for Ronimo for years. And now with the newer size, that's just hard, and that is, I think, sort of the biggest change that we've had. At the same time, we've had a lot of new people come in, and I think over the past few years, I've realized just how much fun it is to have new people join us, just new ideas, new ways to approach things, um, different interests, and it's really sort of livened up the team. I think
Yeah,
just to get new people and new perspectives.
and a lot of them still hang around and communicate with the team too, even if they're interns and they leave eventually to go back to
Yeah,
school or do other stuff. Yeah, so like there, it is very much that kind of environment where it seems like things are fairly, friendly, and new people are always kind of accepted to come back in and like say hi and stuff and drop ideas
yeah.
and such.
I think that is still an important part of of Ronimo, and that is something we really wanted to hang on to, even as we grew. And I think it's big credit to Ronimo that this sort of endures so well even now. Even now when everyone's working at home, we really do sort of try to stay in touch with each other, um, because it's grown into something that's more than just colleagues, right?
Yeah,
In a way, Ronimo has sort of turned into a group of friends or family in a way, um, and everyone just wants to remain part of this, even now that they're working from home. At
yeah.
least I really feel that. I really miss hanging out with my colleagues at the office.
Yeah, I remember there was a conversation that went around briefly talking about, okay, so Dutch government was like, hey, we can actually like have social distancing stuff that goes back into going into the office and stuff. Who would want to? And that conversation was an interesting one to be able to watch from the sidelines as they wave from over here in Canada. Um, Blightbound. Let's talk about that for a bit because it's the big project that's going on in Ronimo right now.
Yeah,
Blightbound's been in development for what, like a couple of years now,
yeah,
roughly.
yeah. I think so. I think around 2 years of just actual work on it, and we did brainstorming for a fair while, and prototyping, that sort of stuff. But yeah,
Right.
I think the ideas really started rolling about 3 years ago.
Yeah. That sounds about right from what I've managed to pick up so far. Um, we've just gotten the chance to start like really showing it off by streaming the
Hmm.
game and the PC Gamer Show with the
Yeah,
Devolver Direct that'll have come out by the time that this is recorded and all that stuff.
we live in
So
the future.
yeah, that place is wacky. So at this point, we've gotten to this point now where we can show it off and everything. How does that make you feel as the producer, like having kind of made sure that this whole train kept on going choo choo until we got to this part of the state, like until we got to this part of the trip? Like we've gotten here. There, it is to the point where people see it and all that. What's that like as the producer? What is that? What is that feeling?
It's something that I was really looking forward to, um, just because it puts us back in a position that worked so well for us with Astronauts. With Astronauts, for years we were doing updates, and we could just show people what we're working on,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that would get people excited. They'd come back with questions. Some people might be trying out stuff in betas, and there turns out to be some sort of excitement for what we're doing after we've been working on this for like 2 years with the blinds closed.
Yeah.
And now to sort of open those back up, say, hey world, this is our thing, right? um, we hope you like it, look at it, ask us questions about it. That's just been a really exciting ride, and it's um, just the input from players out there has been super valuable and
Yeah.
exciting. Just people saying that and saying like, hey, this looks like something I want to play, feels so incredibly good. and I was looking forward to that just because it's good for us as a team
Yeah.
to sort of get that, see that we've been on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine that gives no small amount of pride to everybody that's kind of been working on this for so long. But
Yeah.
in a sense, you're kind of sitting in the back telling people, okay, we need to do this is how we need to organize and stuff, and to see this kind of all kind of come together is, you know, that would be a really neat feeling, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely.
So this now's the sad part.
No,
So folks, we know that Robin here has been working at Ronimo for almost a decade, but almost is where it's going to stay at, because Robin, your time at Ronimo is now sadly coming to an end. And
that's right.
It's garbage news in the sense that we are going to miss you terribly, but it's good news because you're going off and you're doing stuff. Which you don't have to talk about or anything on here, and in fact, it's recommended apparently that we don't. But but at the same time, you are going off to newer opportunities and all that stuff, and it should be a really fun time, and that you're still working in games and such, so that's all good. What are some of your favorite things that happened over the course of your tenure at Ronimo? And this is the walk down memory lane question. What are some fun things that have happened? I don't know. Pick your top 3.
Yeah. So yeah, just to recap, after in total 9.5 years, tomorrow, which is February 10th, will actually be my last day at Ronimo.
You mean July 10th?
It's very
February 10th
sorry.
is a while back. That would have been weird to have you around this long when the job was done for months.
My time tracking skills are gone during COVID.
Yeah. Time is an illusion.
I still get March apparently, or February. But yeah, tomorrow is my last day here. And yeah, it really sucks to leave Ronimo behind. After such a long time, as I said, after my colleagues have become my friends, and it feels like family. I know I'll still be just sort of part of that family, but just leaving people behind sucks.
Yeah.
But I'm going abroad. I have a really cool new job lined up that I'm very excited about. It's still in games. I'm going to be learning a lot of new stuff, and that has me really excited. But yeah, but there's still this hard part first. But yeah, looking back at 9.5 years of Ronimo, there's a lot of great stuff in there. Obviously, we've had a lot of ups and downs. We shipped some games that I'm absolutely really proud of.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really been amazing. I've been to a lot of events. I've had the honor of representing Ronimo at events to players or to publishers, as I said before. And I really feel that is one of the sort of the biggest honors that I've had at Ronimo, just to actually represent our team. And to make a top 3, which is good that you asked me, because I actually wanted to talk about 3 things.
Yes. Guess the correct number of them.
I should write them down before I forget, because I do actually want to know what I wanted to talk about. There's 3 things, which is all right. I remember. It's in chronological order.
The order is chronological.
The order is chronological. Ocelots came out on Steam in 2012, and I think in June or in April 2013, I went to PAX East and GDC, and being at PAX was the first sort of big event after the game had come out. It had really gotten traction by then.
Yeah.
We were the game had been in a free weekend on Steam. Total Biscuit had been making videos about it,
Yeah.
and it was just really picking up. And being there at PAX, where a year before we were standing with just 2 small screens in a corner, and we were getting some people like, hey, this is actually kind of fun. Now that it had come out, people were actually coming up to us saying, holy shit, I love Awesomauts, I played all the time with my friends. And I think that was the first time actually meeting super excited fans. That really showed me that this was all real, that it was actually people out there so incredibly excited for this game. And I remember at GDC, Jasper and I, we were walking around with Astronaut shirts, and I kid you not, someone at GDC was like, oh, holy shit, it's Astronauts. Oh, I love that game. I've played like 500 hours of it.
Mind-blowing, yeah.
Mind-blowing. Like, what? I was like, why would you do that?
Like, what are you thinking? How does this happen? Turns out Astronauts is a really good concept, so...
Yeah. But it sort of, like, I've loved Astronauts. I've loved working on it. But to run into people that were so incredibly into it, and that for whom it has had such an incredible impact on their lives, that I think that was the first time that really sunk in for me, and that was a really, really special moment. And since then, events have been so much fun. Just bringing Astronauts there, and I remember just. PAX is pretty crowded, so I was standing a bit further away from the booth, just looking at it, taking a short break. And there's just people coming over, looking like this is something they would never enjoy, and then they're like, "Hey, I play Astronauts all the time at home," and then they just tear it up. And I've at Gamescoms later on, we've had just a woman with her, I think her maybe 5 or 6-year-old kid, come over and like, hey, in my broken German, do you want to play? And she's like, oh yeah, we play all the time. They play a Jerkle Voltar combo.
And... Oh no.
And it was crazy. They just picked up the controller and played like they would at home and totally destroyed other people at the booth. And then they're like, yeah, thanks for making Astronauts, and they just moved on. And that moment is so special. Also, seeing at events, it's actually something that happens at Gamescom, rather than other shows. It's kids coming over to play a game, like, I'll enjoy this, and then they start dragging other people in because Astronauts is a team game. They're like, I need more people here. And then we've had a show where there's 2 kids that keep coming back, and they keep recruiting people walking around to play on their team, just so they can sort of face off as coaches against each other.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, those have been really, really magical moments.
Oh yeah, no, I don't doubt that. That would be awesome to see that kind of thing happen right in front of you. It's like, oh, this is completely organic. Like, this is what would happen if this were at an arcade. Like, yeah, this is sick.
So yeah, that is sort of one of my favorite moments. The other one is, I think, in 2015, is actually when you came over to the Netherlands to do the Black Label Esports event.
I remember that.
Which is you better.
That was my first time at a gaming convention ever, by the by. Nice. That was very cool, but continue, sorry.
It's Black Label Esports was a subsection of an event in the Netherlands called Power Limited Gameplay, I think.
Yeah.
It was an esports stage, and I had sort of badgered those people into putting us up on the stage. And at some point they said, yes, sure, whatever. And they gave us a slot in between some Heroes of the Storm games.
Yeah.
And we realized, oh shit, we're not gonna play ourselves. So we reached out to a couple of hardcore Dutch fans. They're like, sure, we'll play. Uh, one of them brought in Edster from the UK, who was also like, I want to be part of this.
Yeah, for those of you that are
And
still like that are part of the community, he's now better known as Abs. But yeah, Abs is
Abs,
about, and Abs was there.
Abs was there juggling on stage at some point. Um, and we brought in KNG Richard, which was like one of the very first really hardcore players, and he just happened to live nearby. And we brought in Slow Wolf to do commentary together with KNG Richard. And we were it kind of started out maybe even as a bluff, but something that we'd love to make happen. And it turned into a really cool bit where there's, I don't know, a bunch of people sitting just watching a stage waiting for Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends, and we're like, well, here's a show match for Astronauts, which is a game that's actually just made 1 kilometer from that event.
Yeah.
And I was backstage using the sort of a very rudimentary spectator mode, because it definitely wasn't finished at that point yet. And I was going to do that together with Kuhn, but they told Kuhn, no, you have to come because you have to be there to sort of press the replay button if something's really cool. So I was just back there sort of looking below the stage, seeing just a bit of the crowd, and it just starts out with people just sitting like this. Like they
yeah,
didn't
lay
up.
back. They're just like waiting, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. We're waiting for the next game, and they're doing this. But like 10 minutes in, you sort of see it click. These people have never seen Osmonds before, and it's clicking as a sort of a competitive game. The game was actually a lot of fun. And then a few more minutes in, there was like a team wipe, and people were actually cheering. And then it had a really close finish.
Mm-hmm.
And people were just it sort of, over the course of those 15 to 20 minutes, it you just saw them evolve from I don't know what this is to, oh, this is interesting, to this is a cool game.
Yeah.
And it's rare to see that happen, and I honestly think just that show is for me the epitome of Osmonauts. That might have been Osmonauts at its best. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I could get behind that. I distinctly remember though that the one thing that I'm particularly proud about with that whole thing was that the Blizzard of the Heroes of the Storm folks were like, I'm not gonna. They're very picky about their equipment, and meanwhile the Astronauts players are like, yeah, whatever, just hand me whatever trash you've got. We'll just play. Like we just want to play the game. Let's get up there and do stuff. It was kind of nice to have that moment for me, because it was just like, oh man, this is good.
Yeah, that was, yeah, it was honestly like everyone was excited to be there. And that made it just a really fun day. We hang out with all these people at the office afterwards. We were hanging out before, and everyone was there sort of with the sole intent of showing Astronauts to this crowd, not necessarily to sort of to win that game. There was some money on the line, but I think players decided to
Which was
split
made
it, whatever.
abundantly and trashily clear that there was money on the line, if I remember correctly. Like that was that was the cringe of cringe. But yeah, no, the team completely, like both teams just split it evenly, if I remember correctly. They're just like, yeah, okay, sure, I got first place, and they're like, hey guys,
everyone get $50 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's on, if you're listening to this and you've never seen that game, I think it's up on YouTube as Black Label Sports Astronauts, and it's, as Phil says, it's a bit cheesy at points. It's hosted by Skate the Great, which is a a gaming celebrity here in the
A
Netherlands.
Dutch personality.
A Dutch gaming personality. And I don't know, I just really love that. So that is my number two favorite moment.
Mm.
And my number three favorite moment is something that happened a little bit later. I think it happened early 2017 or maybe late 2016, where I gave a talk together with Joost, our tech lead, um, at an event called the Steam Dev Days, which is a developer-only event hosted in Seattle, where Valve announced this event would be happening. Um, I sent my Valve contacts an email saying like, "Hey, are you still looking for talks? Because um, we had talked quite a bit about astronauts every
Mm.
time I ran into that guy. Do you want us to give a talk about this? Because we've actually been in one of the games that have been doing this for years now." And he was like, that's interesting. And they ended up just adding a new talk to the schedule at like 9 a.m. in the morning during breakfast. It was the first talk of the day. And
Dang, that's an interesting spot to put.
again,
To like just say it's like, oh, we've got the first talk. All the other
yeah, no,
talks can wait.
yes.
I have something to
Um,
say.
it was like the second day, and it was a party before, so like I'm not sure people are going to show up for this. This had sort of started off as just me, saying like, "Hey, are you looking for talks? Because if so, this is something we could sort of maybe craft a talk around."
Yeah.
And they were just like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then we're like, "Then we gotta come up with a talk now." um, and we did it, and it's the first sort of big talk that I've ever given. But it was I think it was honestly at 9 or 10 a.m. during breakfast. Like people that were there for the talk. There was no other reason to come to
Yeah.
that center at that point, other than being at the talk. And it was actually pretty full up. And that was cool. And the talk went well. I sort of did the one half of the talk where I talked about sort of why we had been supporting Oscars for so long,
Yeah.
and how much fun it's been for us to keep working on a game rather than just as I said, shutting the blinds and doing something new. How much sense it makes financially, because the second and third years of Astronauts at that point had already been way better than our first year.
Yeah.
Like all of that's in the talk, um, and um, and honestly, sort of how we were engaging with the community through Voltar's Vault,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, which in turn we had built up on an idea that Valve talked about in the Steam Dev Days of 2014. Um, I gave a talk about all of that, and then Joost gave a talk. Like the second part of the talk was about what we actually or how we did it. So sort of the patch cycle every 2 months, and we test it, and this is stuff we try to avoid. This is what we've learned. This is
Yeah.
what's easy for us. Um, and we did that, and I was sort of shell shocked even at how big that crowd was, because I didn't really realize that until I was backstage or in the back of the hall while Joost was giving us. I was like, this room's actually pretty full.
Oh, hold on. There's fair more butts and seats here than I initially thought there were. Oh
Yeah.
my. It's kind of crazy when you're up on a stage and the lights are blinding you. It's like, hey, you have no idea how many people are in there, and then you get down. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, like
oh.
this room really filled up. um, but we gave that talk, and again, that was sort of a moment where it really sunk in what we had created with Astronauts, because what started out as a game with just 15 dudes in Utrecht, sitting in an office where we can't open up a window. Um,
Oh
it
yeah,
had
the
turned
first
into
office.
the first office. It 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 turned into something that we were actually giving a talk about, and then after that, people came up to us to ask us really serious questions. And so I was like, this is super interesting. We want to know more about this. Can we catch up afterwards sometime? Can we ask you more questions? I was
Mhm.
invited to give a talk at a AAA gaming studio where they said, we have this conference every year for our team because we can't send everyone to GDC. Come to us and give this talk again. I was like, sure, uh, sure, this is fun. And
Encore.
all of that sort of started rolling there, and it just really showed the impact Osmonds was also having on sort of others. There still aren't that many games that are being supported for 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
No, it's
Um,
actually very rare,
and
especially for an indie developed game to last longer than like what, 2, 3. Like there are
yeah,
games that have
exactly,
lasted, that have bigger names that have like done worse than Nazis done. Like
exactly.
it's impressive
Um,
to say the
and
least.
yeah, that really sunk in over the course of giving or preparing that talk and giving it, and getting the reactions afterwards. And also
Right.
me, for me personally, just to have been there and given a talk on this uh, is yeah, that's just a personal milestone for me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you want to know about Astronaut, sort of how we did this, the talk's publicly available on Steam Dev Days. I think it's Games as a Service.
Yep, I watched that
Um,
talk. I watched Yost's as well.
thank
I'll
you.
go ahead and definitely the descriptions if you're on YouTube, or if you're
Hmm.
looking at, or if you're listening to this on a podcasting service. Those links will be in the descriptions below, so you can check those
Nice.
out, and they'll be clearly labeled, folks. So make sure to give those a listen. They are extremely informative, very interesting things. I'll also put the Black Label Esports show if you guys really want to watch Slow Wolf cringe himself a little bit harder. But it was a very, very cool event. I still feel bad. I feel like I stepped
Hmm.
all over King Richard's toes. Anyway,
It's. I mean, everyone was excited to be
yeah,
there,
exactly.
and it turned out really, really cool.
All of it did. So we've been at this interview for almost double the length that all the other Blightcast episodes so far.
Really?
Um, yes, it turns out that memory lane is a very long road. Um,
I know.
I honestly actually kind of prefer this more relaxed pace. If I'm being completely honest, I might just say, you know what, the show's 40 minutes long now. So, um,
I
for
thought it
those,
was an hour actually, so I was like,
this,
got to keep it going.
yeah, no, it's gotta give me more speed. No, we're good, we're good. Um, so before we leave off though, and before we wish Robin a very merry and happy farewell on to his next job, um, there might be some people out there who are interested by what you've talked about and who might think that the idea of being a producer suddenly sounds very interesting. Do you have any advice for any prospective producers who would like to get into who'd like to get in on games and stuff like that? Are there any things that they should study? Are there any things that they should be doing right now that they could probably use to help their chances?
um, uh, I know a lot of schools have nowadays sort of a production track, which is in many cases sort of an offshoot of their design track.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you just go to a school and study to be a producer, they'll probably tell you the right things. Personally, I studied business. I came in from business administration. I did a master's in human resource management, and sort of found my way into the industry through that. Um, I think that that's very viable. There is no set path to be a producer, as much as maybe like becoming a designer. You should probably just start building your experience in Unreal or Unity or make games. But as a producer, having sort of a just a managerial or a managing background is fine. I think the
Yeah.
most important thing is if you're becoming a producer, you need to be really sure that you're 100% okay with not actually making a game. I know a lot of, at least in the past, um, a lot of, uh, I know a lot of people have sort of ended up in a production role because it, it wasn't maybe working out in other roles or something.
Yeah.
But this is a role where you can make a lot of difference. Um, and I think it's important to acknowledge that you need to be absolutely passionate about team dynamics and maybe grinding spreadsheets for planning. If you're like I would love to do that to see a game get made the right way, becoming a producer is right for you. And honestly, at that point, I don't think there's any wrong way to get there.
Yeah.
As long as you sort of have a background in 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 like team dynamics or something like that, whether that's management or business or anything really. I think honestly
Yeah.
anything goes. You just need to be passionate about this bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Robin, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule, especially now that you're moving and everything, to take, a moment to
It's kind
sit
of
down
messy.
and speak with me. It might be procrastination, but I'm going to take it anyway. This is lovely. And is there anything else you'd like to add or say before we sign off?
Sure, yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I think it's really cool that you're here now as part of Ronimo. Again, I think if I look at the impact that we've had with Osama, just the fact that you are now here with us is a prime example of sort of how small things can can impact the lives of others, right? You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be here without Osmonauts.
Nope.
And so I just really want to thank everyone out there that has played Osmonauts over the years, that has talked to us, has given us feedback. Um, I wasn't ready for this. Uh, that has given us feedback that has just helped make Osmonauts the absolute beast that it has become. Osmonauts has really grown bigger than 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 what we ever thought it would be, and it is so much bigger than just the people that made it. Um, and
Agreed.
that is something that I'll forever be incredibly proud of having been part of that. Yeah, so if you're listening to this, just thanks for being part of our fan base, our ecosystem, and know that there are real people working on these games that are listening to you and honestly want the game to be the very best it can be. Um,
Which goes
yeah,
for everything that we've been working on too. So we're hoping that Blightbound is going to be the best it can be, and everything else as well. And yeah, no, it's.
yeah. I'm
But we would
honestly,
like
I'm
at the end
honestly
of the day though,
really
like
proud.
what. Yeah, I like the at the end of the day though, none of this again, like you said, would be possible without people. So like, you know, seriously, I would not have a job were it not for the people that are probably currently listening to this, or a good chunk of them. And yeah, no, it's because of you that we're doing what we're doing. And yeah, I'm with you on that one, Robin, for sure.
Yeah, and it's even now. So we've been doing 3 rounds of closed beta over the last couple of weeks. Every weekend we have a new build with an ever increasing player pool. Um, and already we're getting a lot of player feedback, and that's coming back to the team. And we're looking at it and we're talking about it and talking about sort of how, um, even though the game isn't out there yet, we're already sort of back in the Awesomeness mindset where we're no longer doing this now to for us to enjoy this game. We are now doing this for the people that are actually out there that are playing it already on the weekends. Um, and I think it's really that is just a magical thing, right? Um, and that's really cool. And I can honestly say that is how it's, even with Awesomauts, it's always been. Just really focused on trying to make this better for the players.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks again for helping us do that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Robin. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And this being the last time that I'm speaking with you like this, anyway, as in your tenure as a producer at Ronimo. So, it's been an honor, sir.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for helping getting me hired. If you had any part in that.
Right. It's honestly, it's great to have you here.
All right, take it easy, Robin.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.
One more time, on behalf of everyone at Ronimo Games, I'd like to extend a very fond farewell and good luck to Robin Meijer. On a personal note, I considered him to be a friend, and I was very much looking forward to working with him a bit longer. And although it's a shame that was not the case, I wish Robin, personally, all the best, and I cannot wait to see him in his new station, wherever his career has taken him. If you want to go ahead and listen to more Blightcast episodes, you can find them anywhere where podcasts are listened to, including Spotify and the Apple Podcast application. If you wish to find more of Robin and to listen to him and speak with him on a more informal basis, he is still hanging around the Ronimo Discord, which you can find at discord.gg/Ronimo. If you wish to contact the Blightcast or Ronimo in any capacity, you'll be able to find us on Twitter at Ronimo Games. You can find us on YouTube as Ronimo Games there as well. We now have a new Instagram where you can go ahead and share fan art whilst we share your fan art back at you, as well as our own art as Ronimo Games Official. You can also find us on Facebook, both as Ronimo Games, but then as each of our separate games, including Awesomauts, Swords and Soldiers, and now Blightbound. Blightbound is, at the time of this recording, going to be live and available in early access as of July 29th of 2020. It'll be available for approximately $20 US, and we are very much looking forward to seeing how people will react to the game as it develops, changes, and grows into the game that we really wish it to become. An epic tale, a grim one, but most importantly, an awesome one. And as long as that game continues development, this podcast, the Blightcast, will be there to document its changes over time, talk to the developers, and continue to shed a light on the things that are going on in the blighted corners of our offices. Thank you for listening, and stay safe.